It happened in that moment, at my brother's birthday celebration, when they struck me. My father swung a champagne bottle and shattered it against my head, all because I refused to relinquish the deed to my $999,000 condo. Yet, that was not the most troubling aspect. I had been wiped away from family photographs, from their recollections, from their affections. Hello, my name is Eliza. And I believed that silence would preserve harmony. Yet, when they attempted to take away the home I painstakingly created, I swiftly froze their accounts. It was at that moment that the pleading began. How would you feel if those who nurtured you saw you merely as a temporary presence, waiting for the moment they desired something greater? Share your thoughts in the comments below. This tale unfolds in a manner that defies your expectations. It was no shock to find a valet line there. My brother's 40th birthday celebration resembled a political fundraiser rather than a family gathering. String lights danced among the olive trees, while the aroma of cedar plank salmon wafted through the warm Scottsdale air. Each vehicle stationed along the secluded cul-de-sac gleamed in shades of black and silver. A fleet of Teslas, a couple of Benzes, and a solitary Jaguar stand in contrast. I arrived in my Toyota, recently cleaned, yet modest, akin to a library book nestled among a collection of leather-bound first editions. The valet greeted me with a polished smile as I emerged from the car. The navy dress, devoid of a label, exuded a sense of cleanliness, a perfect fit, and an air of familiarity. The pearl studs adorning my ears were a cherished graduation gift from Aunt Claire, while I held tightly to a small gift bag that contained a monogrammed pen set for Nathan. He had a deep appreciation for fine writing instruments. They claimed it made individuals regard your signature with greater seriousness. The sound of laughter beckoned me, drawing me toward the front porch. The sound of jazz flowed from the speakers, rich and inviting, while every surface gleamed with a radiant glow. Twinkling fairy lights danced above, casting a warm glow on delicate glass vases, while trays of exquisite canapés beckoned, their names a mystery to me. A young man stood at the podium, clutching the guest list as if it were a vital key to an exclusive realm. As I drew near, a smile spread across his face. "What is your name?" he inquired. "Eliza Monroe," I remarked, as I shifted the strap of my bag into a more comfortable position. He perused the paper, then hesitated. "You have been designated as a +1. I blinked, momentarily caught off guard. "Excuse me?" He pivoted the clipboard in my direction. There it stood, a moment frozen in time. The Reynolds family block stands as a tidy array of names. Nathan and Camilla, alongside Robert and Diane, weave together a tale of intertwined lives. Even cousin Tessa along with her trio of children. At the bottom, an additional guest from the family. I choked back the lump in my throat. "That's fine," I whispered, presenting a smile I had carefully crafted for occasions just like this. "Are you interested in exploring an alternative tag?" I possess the ability to write by hand. "It's perfectly all right," I reiterated. He presented me with a white badge inscribed with the word guest, and I affixed it to my dress, positioning it just above my heart. The fabric was tugged gently. After making the necessary adjustments, I stepped inside. The house underwent a remarkable transformation. Chandeliers hung from the ceiling, resembling frozen fireworks, while each table was elegantly draped in silk. I examined the seating chart closely. Table 18 is situated towards the rear. A secluded nook nestled behind a pillar, just within earshot of the kitchen door's creaky opening every few moments. My place setting resembled a scene where enthusiasm faded midway, leaving an unfinished impression. The silverware was askew. The napkin sagged, reminiscent of a bird that had lost its vitality. With care, I attempted to reshape it into a swan once more. The delicate linen fluttered in response to the breeze from the swinging door. I placed it back down and extended my hand toward the glass of water. Partially filled, at ambient warmth. It had a flavorless essence, which was likely the intention. From my vantage point, the head table was nearly obscured, yet the words resonated clearly in my ears. Camilla's laughter rang out with an almost dazzling brightness. Robert's voice resonated powerfully amidst the jazz melodies. Diane glided gracefully among the guests, proclaiming, "Nathan's our rock." Similar to a politician embracing infants. The slideshow commenced. Images capturing Nathan's journey, as a toddler, a little leaguer, a varsity swimmer, shaking hands with the mayor, and cutting the ribbon at the grand opening of his architecture firm's new office. Storytelling by Diane. Nathan held a unique place in her heart, she murmured softly through the speakers. A light that transcends instruction. It's something you come into the world with. Robert's voice trailed behind. At the age of 10, Nathan crafted a detailed floor plan for the renovation of our garage. The contractor couldn't help but be impressed. A subtle smile graced my lips. Throughout the entire slideshow, there was no acknowledgement of the 3 weeks I dedicated to assisting him in drafting that presentation after his laptop crashed. Not the $40,000 I sent to support his first-year payroll when his firm started. It wasn't the night I spent in his incomplete showroom to ensure the carpet installer wouldn't back out. Not a single fleeting image to capture the moment. I existed as the unseen script. Then there was a moment of silence. And now, a voice proclaimed, sharing a few words from someone truly extraordinary. The lights changed their hue. The beam of light glided through the space, finally resting upon my figure. I stood still, caught in the moment. The audience offered a tentative round of applause, their hesitance palpable. I rose to my feet, confusion still lingering within me. It was unexpected, no one had invited me to share my thoughts. I had received no forewarning. Diane's smile graced her face as she looked across the room, almost as if it were crafted with precision. I approached the microphone. The sound of my heels echoed on the marble, reminiscent of a clock counting down the moments. I shielded my eyes from the brightness and observed Nathan nodding, remaining in his seat, with Camilla's hand resting on his. I approached the microphone, my heart racing with uncertainty. There is no script. There are no cue cards. Only quietude. It was a night filled with beauty, I started to say, taking my time. And Nathan, you've always had a remarkable ability to illuminate spaces. Even as a kid, you. Diane chuckled from her seat. Oh, darling, she interjected, pivoting towards the audience. Imagine the delight if she were to present them with the condo this evening. The atmosphere in the room shifted suddenly, as if a window had been opened on a frigid winter day. My mouth parted, then sealed shut. It was difficult to believe my ears. She maintained her smile. Have you heard about that spot in Austin? That charming little 2-bedroom Eliza possesses? She is perpetually on the move. It simply aligns perfectly. Robert interjected. Oh, darling, you're hardly present at all. It was an assertion. It unfolded as a calculated act, cloaked in the guise of kindness, yet laden with anticipation. I cast my gaze upon Nathan. He gazed down at his plate. Camilla remained still. The throng moved restlessly. Soft murmurs. A cough echoed through the air. I took a moment to clear my throat. This wasn't disgust, I murmured gently, not into the mic, but directed toward Diane. She dismissed it with a wave. Oh, sweetheart, there's no need for theatrics, it's merely a token of affection. Affection. That term once more, wielded like a tether. There was a wealth of thoughts I could have shared. Concerning the loans. The gifts bestowed. The season was filled with moments dedicated to mending what was never my responsibility to mend. Yet, I refrained. In that moment, a smile graced my lips. Stillness enveloped the surroundings. Regulated. A smile that conveys, I acknowledge your presence and I will hold on to every detail. With a soft touch, I placed the mic down. A gentle click resonated as it met the stand. Silence lingered in the air. The soft murmur of jazz fills the air, accompanied by the delicate clink of silverware, while a swan napkin gracefully unfolds at an unoccupied table, creating a serene atmosphere. I made an attempt to depart prior to the arrival of the desserts. A stillness enveloped the room as the last echoes of applause faded, and the audience began to settle back into their seats. The atmosphere was thick with the unspoken weight of Diane's small gift suggestion, lingering like the remnants of smoke from a recently extinguished candle. I acknowledged a handful of individuals as I made my way to the exit, wishing to slip away unnoticed, to restore a semblance of dignity before the night took a turn for the worse. Yet, the sound of dessert forks clinking, the aroma of chocolate ganache wafting through the air, and the soft hum of jazz created an atmosphere that felt overly polished, almost like a carefully rehearsed performance. And thus, this marked merely the inception of the journey ahead. Hello, this is Jeanette from Desert View Realty, reaching out to confirm your appointment at 2 p.m. Exploration of the condo. The voice on the phone was bright and cheerful, reminiscent of someone who thoughtfully placed mint in the guest bathroom and greeted strangers with a smile in grocery aisles. Yet, her words fell heavily in the stillness of the kitchen, slicing through the gentle hum of my coffee maker. What do you mean? I inquired, my attention divided, my eyelids fluttering as I gazed at the overcast dawn beyond the glass. Guide through the journey. Concerning the East Sagewood unit? The arrangement has been made in your name. We shall convene at the gate, unless you would rather utilize the lockbox access. The individual serving as co-signer is Mr. Robert Monroe. Does that sound familiar? A knot formed in my stomach. Is this the unit? It is not available for purchase, I stated with deliberate calmness. A moment of stillness. Oh, she responded, her tone softening just a touch. It is indeed on the list. The title appears beneath you, yet the agent account has been validated through dual submission. Everything is arranged perfectly on our side. I chose not to submit anything. A moment of stillness. Are you considering canceling the showing, then? I chose to remain silent. The call has just concluded. The connection was lost, yet the sound of the ringing lingered in my mind. I lingered there, my bare feet pressed against the chill of the tile, one hand gripping the counter as if it were my only anchor in that moment. Then I advanced, softly, with intention. As I approached the front door, I lowered myself to kneel beside the lock. Scratches, delicate and superficial, as if a hesitant hand had exerted too much effort to align the key. Had I not sought them out, it would have slipped right by me. Yet, my gaze was fixed in that moment. Memory surged forth in a vivid rush. The week prior in Westlake. Gathering around the table, the family came together for a meal filled with stories and laughter. With a subtle smile, Robert extended his hand, offering me my purse. Every one of your bags blends into the crowd, he remarked, nonchalantly. In that moment, I remained completely unperturbed. Now the memory pierced like a hidden thorn, lodged deep beneath the surface, its presence both sharp and uninvited. As I settled onto the kitchen island, I drew my laptop closer and initiated a new email, the screen before me a canvas waiting to be filled. Written in a moment of spontaneity. Hello, Marlo. Our paths crossed at the Valley Law brunch last fall. I trust that I linger in your memory. I feel as though my parents are plotting to take away my home. With a moment of uncertainty, I proceeded to attach the PDFs, the title deed, my closing documents, and a screenshot of the transfer I had made for the down payment years prior. There's a memory of a conversation with my mother, where she inquired if I could manage to handle one more mortgage cycle while Nathan found his footing. After carefully reviewing the email one last time, I pressed the send button. For nearly an hour, I remained in quiet anticipation, hoping for a response. After that, I reached out to a locksmith. He arrived around noon, towering and silent, clutching a clipboard in one hand and a steel toolbox in the other. Emblazoned across his uniform was the name Clayton. His demeanor suggested he had encountered far more peculiar occurrences than my own. It appeared that someone had been coming and going, he remarked after examining the door. The scratches have recently appeared. They were unfamiliar with the alignment. It seems there was likely a copy, yet no practice took place. Is it possible for you to transform everything? I inquired. Absolutely, I can do that. Would you like to add a deadbolt as well? I gave a slight nod. Absolutely, I would love that. And perhaps, guide me on how to rekey it just in case. He remained silent, refraining from probing further. I have completed the task. Effective and compassionate. The atmosphere was thick with the aroma of brass shavings and the gleam of metal polish. As he completed his task, I expressed my gratitude with a bottle of water and a subtle nod of acknowledgement. He departed in silence. The atmosphere had transformed after that moment, still belonging to me in a sense, yet the essence had changed. As if a match had been struck and extinguished, leaving only the lingering scent of sulfur in the air. That night, sleep eluded me. I reclined on my back, observing the ceiling shift and shimmer with each fleeting beam of light from the passing cars outside. The condo was once my sanctuary of solitude. My sanctuary. My protective exterior. At that moment, an unsettling awareness crept over me, as if unseen eyes were upon me. As if the walls were sworn to silence, guarding their secrets while I remained oblivious. As I flicked on the soft glow of my bedside lamp, I drew the laptop nearer, ready to dive back into the world it held. I composed another email to Marlowe, taking my time with it this time. Marlowe, I want to clarify that I have not listed the condo. I did not give permission for any walkthrough. They possess a key that I never provided. And then I inscribed the thoughts that had remained unvoiced, not even in the quiet of my own mind. I have a feeling that my parents are plotting to take my home away from me. I gazed at the screen until the cursor ceased its rhythmic blinking. Then I pressed the send button. The following morning, Amina arrived with bagels, bringing with her that steady, calm presence that only she seemed to possess. Without inquiring about the troubles that lingered, she simply toasted one of everything and filled the chipped mug I always reserved in the back with coffee. As I finally revealed the truth, she paused, her bagel suspended in midair, untouched. "You're not staying here alone tonight," she stated with quiet resolve. "All is well, Eliza." Her voice carried a gentle strength. "This goes beyond mere shoddiness. This is an act of wrongdoing." I chose not to engage in a dispute. Exhaustion enveloped me. A weariness that transcended mere fatigue, rooted instead in the burden of enduring too much for far too long. As dusk settled, I gathered my belongings into a bag, securing the door behind me, my door, the new key resting warmly in my hand. In Amina's abode, the guest room was infused with the refreshing scents of linen spray and eucalyptus. A pristine towel rested neatly at the edge of the bed. I settled into my seat, the familiar denim clinging to me as I gazed intently at my phone. A solitary email has arrived. Subject: I would like to discuss something with you, Eliza. With all my heart, Mom. I chose not to open it. It hasn't happened yet. I allowed the screen to fade in my grasp while the space enveloped me in the stillness I had struggled so fiercely to attain. They never transferred it back to their name, Marlowe remarked, pushing a hefty folder across the table. In reality, it has been in your possession all along. I gazed at the document laid out before me, my name emblazoned in bold black ink, my signature, both known and yet strangely remote. The address, East Maple Drive in Phoenix, resurfaced in my mind, a detail from a legal timeline I hadn't contemplated in years. A solitary page had silently safeguarded a piece of my past that I had long overlooked. The memory of that phone call lingers vividly, as if it occurred just yesterday. In the twilight of 2010. Robert's voice carried a sense of tranquility, as if he were discussing the weather. The mortgage company looming with the threat of foreclosure hangs heavy in the air. He claimed the bank was being overly dramatic, insisting it was merely an issue of refinancing documents and timing. He promised me it would be just a fleeting moment. Simply require the loan under your name to navigate the bureaucratic hurdles. In a matter of weeks, we will have it resolved. It remains our sanctuary. I chose not to engage in a dispute. Within the hour, I completed the transfer of funds. At that time, I found myself in a one-bedroom apartment, navigating the challenges of life while still tackling my student loans. Yet assistance was essential. And I continued to hold the belief that to help was to embody goodness. What I was unaware of at the time was that excelling in our family was merely a subtle form of being quietly erased. Marlowe reclined in his chair, lightly tapping the folder with the point of his pen. For more than 13 years, you have held the title of owner. They have yet to submit a transfer request. No transfer of ownership rights. No title update available at this time. In reality, their existence there has been based on an assumption rather than a claim of ownership. In the stillness of the office, silence reigned supreme. The air conditioning unit hummed softly, resisting the fiery waves of the phoenix heat that danced just outside the glass walls. Outside, the sidewalk glimmered in that late June manner, blurring the outlines of every building into a gentle watercolor haze. Within, there existed a realm of precise contours and undeniable truths. I released my breath gradually. In that place, they have celebrated holidays, adorned it with Christmas lights, and organized fundraisers for the community. I'll believe it belongs to them. It's something that happens often, Marlowe remarked. Families may leave the paperwork unattended, yet you have the power to change that narrative. As my gaze fell upon him, I took in every detail. What occurs if I return it? With a deliberate motion, he brought his hands together, folding them neatly. A formal notice will be delivered to them by a third party. It's merely a matter of circumstance. It follows a systematic approach. You're not entering with a team of cameras. A chapter is being closed with a flourish of your signature. I paused, allowing the thought to linger in the air. I expressed my desire to avoid causing them any humiliation. He responded, "You're not. You are safeguarding your own well-being." With a single nod, I extended my hand toward the pen. My signature settled beside the one from 2010, as if a thread had finally found its end. Marlowe carefully tucked the papers into a manila envelope and rose to his feet. Today, we shall proceed with the filing. Anticipate a formal delivery within 3 business days. 3 days later, my phone vibrated with a notification from the Monroe family group chat, a digital archive of past birthdays, fuzzy baby pictures, and potluck sign-ups that had faded into memory. A video unfolded before our eyes. The image depicted Robert standing at the front door, clad in a wrinkled robe and grasping a piece of toast. Diane lingered just behind him, her fingers wrapped around a mug adorned with her initials in shimmering gold. The sheriff emerged on screen, holding an envelope tightly in his grasp. Robert's eyes widened in surprise as he swung the door open, momentarily taken aback. Diane extended her hand toward the document while he quickly glanced over the surface. Her expression shifted, eyes narrowing, posture becoming rigid. With a sharp motion, Robert struck the envelope against the doorframe. Diane parted her lips, ready to utter a word, yet the scene abruptly ended before her voice could emerge. Silence reigns, devoid of words or remarks. A mere 30 seconds of astonishment, captured by Nathan's security camera and shared as if it were a humorous moment. I observed it initially, then revisited it, taking my time to absorb every detail. After that, I shut the chat and set my phone down with the screen facing the surface. Within me, there existed neither anger nor satisfaction. Now, there exists merely a prolonged, silent pain where once there was steadfast devotion. That night, I drove past the house, not to revel in the past, but to reflect on what once was. I came to a stop on the opposite side of the road, remaining inside the car. There I was, engine silent, gazing at the front porch as the gentle glow of the light danced softly. The shutters awaited a fresh coat of paint. A rose bush had sprawled across the path, its vibrant blooms spilling over the edges, claiming the space as its own. It appeared just as it always had. As I reflect on that summer day, I can still picture myself kneeling on those steps, carefully tying Nathan's shoelaces before the school year began. I recalled the moments spent with Diane on that porch swing, savoring watermelon while we masked the emotions threatening to spill over. Once, the house had been a vessel of joy. I never envisioned that. Yet, one cannot dwell within the confines of memory. One can only exist within the confines of reality. I retreated gradually, my gaze fixed ahead, unwilling to glance back once more. As the evening wore on, I found myself sifting through a pile of unopened mail when suddenly, my phone buzzed to life. Camilla. Her message was brief. Whispers abound, suggesting you require assistance, that perhaps you're not quite steady. The kitchen enveloped me, the gentle hum of the fridge creating a backdrop to my thoughts. In the distance, the sound of a dog barking echoed through the air. In a distant place, another's existence continued, untouched by the chaos around. As I gazed at her message, time seemed to stretch, and after what felt like an eternity, I finally crafted my response. Allow them to express their thoughts freely. I preserved the receipts. I refrained from sending anything further. Her silence lingered in the air. Perhaps she might not. Perhaps she was unable to. And in that moment, a sense of liberation washed over me. I returned to the table and took hold of the deed that Marlowe had prepared for me. I carefully placed it into a folder labeled personal, then gently stowed it in the drawer alongside my birth certificate and passport. That night, I found myself in Amina's room, the gentle whir of the ceiling fan wrapping around me like a comforting blanket, coaxing me into slumber. After what felt like an eternity, I finally found a night where I was not pursued, trapped, or made to feel small. I envisioned a door that I had securely locked, a barrier that no one could cross without my consent. The house resonated now, devoid of voices, laughter, or the sound of clinking glasses, filled instead with a profound silence that settles in only when all has been laid bare. A stillness that lacked tranquility. It seemed as though it had been wiped away. I found myself in the foyer, keys lingering in my grasp, even as the door had quietly closed behind me. The August heat bore down on the curtained windows, heavy and unyielding. Yet within, the atmosphere felt strangely crisp, devoid of warmth, as if the very essence of life had been meticulously extracted. The scent of lemon polish hung delicately in the air. Diane had always maintained this practice, even in the absence of any visitors. A home ought to exude an essence that invites memories to linger, she would often express. It's amusing, considering how resolutely they had tried to erase my existence. I meandered through each room as if I were an observer in a gallery of experiences that always felt just out of reach. The living room stood bare, devoid of its framed memories, yet the faint shadows on the wall whispered of the moments that once adorned it. A graduation photo captured Nathan's beaming smile as he stood proudly next to the mayor. A snapshot capturing a moment from my getaway to Big Bear. A moment captured with him proudly displaying a Little League trophy, while Robert kneels beside him, sharing in the joy of the achievement. There is nothing that defines me. Once, the family portrait captured my essence, braces awkwardly gleaming and my elbow bent at an odd angle. Yet, over the years, it has been supplanted by a cropped version, erasing my presence from the frame. More concise, more refined, embodying the essence of simplicity. I found myself in the dining room, a place where festive tables used to sag beneath the weight of roasts and towering pies. One year, I crafted a centerpiece using pine cones and artificial holly. Diane had beamed at me, complimenting my charming ideas, only to replace them before the guests made their entrance. As I gazed upon the familiar dining table once more, it lay bare, its surface cloaked in a delicate layer of dust, interrupted only by the remnants of 2 candles, their wax dripped and uneven from the passage of time. Upstairs, Nathan's former room lay empty, save for a dusty track medal affixed to the corkboard. My former room had vanished, transformed into a guest sewing space at some point in 2016. It was mentioned to me casually, almost as an afterthought. Your absence has been felt, and we find ourselves in need of storage. I made my way down the hall, stopping briefly at the modest linen closet. Empty hangers, a floral pillowcase folded with meticulous precision, yet it was the cabinet beneath the stairs that truly seized my attention. It was once referred to as the junk nook, a space that gathered the items people preferred to ignore yet hesitated to discard. Half-burned candles, abandoned game pieces, birthday cards from those who have long since stopped coming around. With a gentle push, I eased the door open. Within the confines, there lay a singular object, a shoe box. A simple, unmarked box rested before me, its soft edges gently worn and adorned with faint gray smudges that hinted at stories untold. I brought it down to the lowest step and settled in. My hands remained steady, yet a tremor stirred within me. As I lifted the cover, anticipation filled the air. Atop the arrangement, the swan napkin rested gracefully. The very same from Nathan's birthday celebration, crumpled haphazardly, drooping, misaligned. I recalled the moment at table 18, where I carefully straightened its uneven wing as the sound of laughter drifted from the head table. What could have compelled someone to preserve it? Underneath, a photograph lies. At the age of 8, with my hair in pigtails and a missing front tooth, I stood proudly next to my erupting volcano project at the regional science fair. For years, that trophy had proudly occupied a place on my shelf, a silent testament to my achievements, until one summer, it vanished without a trace. Diane had remarked, "It's far too dusty, and the display feels tacky." And beneath that photo, a single sheet of white printer paper. No letterhead, no signature, just one sentence. "This was never your home anyway." The words sat in the center of the page like a verdict, cold, final. I didn't cry, I didn't even flinch. I folded the paper once, pressed the seam flat with my palm, and tucked it back into the box. Sometimes grief doesn't come as a wave. Sometimes it arrives as air you can't quite catch in your lungs. It sits in the chest, still and full, until all you can do is exhale and make room for it. I walked back into the kitchen and set the box on the counter, the same counter where I used to frost cakes. Where Diane once asked me if I'd consider working in HR, because you're good with people, not numbers. My phone buzzed, it was Thessaly. The message came with no preamble, just a picture. A leather-bound family photo album cracked at the spine, its pages fanned open across her lap. The next image came seconds later, page after page, labeled years, birthdays, Christmases, vacations, and not one photo of me. Not even from when we were little. No Halloween costume, no awkward preteen group shot, no high school grad photo beside the old Ford that Nathan totaled 2 years later. Then arrived the message, "They've been wiping you from existence for years." My eyes remained wide open, a searing sensation coursing through them, refusing to blink at that moment. So I wasn't merely overlooked, I murmured, I was erased from the story. And that's when I realized, this house, these walls, this smell of lemon polish and dust, it wasn't just the place I grew up. It was the graveyard of a version of me they never intended to remember. With a gentle motion, I eased the cabinet door shut. With the shoebox in hand, I switched off the kitchen light and stepped out, leaving everything else untouched. I placed the swan napkin gently in the passenger seat of my car, smoothed it with 2 fingers. As I drove away, I chose not to glance back. The morning light filtered in, leisurely spreading across the hardwood floor of my condo as if it had all the time in the world. I lingered by the window, cradling a warm mug of tea in one hand, while the other softly touched the back of a chair. The peace lily lingered by the window, its leaves gently stretching toward the sun's warm embrace. The white bloom had unfurled just the day prior, gentle and unpretentious. At the heart of the dining table, the swan napkin stood, creased yet unbroken. The linen edges, gently worn by the passage of time. I didn't touch it, I didn't need to. January arrived softly this year, devoid of fireworks and the usual resolutions hastily written in journals, offering only breath, space, and a profound stillness. For the first time in ages, I found myself free from the weight of needing to stand tall or justify my existence to anyone. The mail had arrived earlier, a collection of flyers, a utility bill, and a cream-colored envelope inscribed in meticulous cursive, Thessaly. As I stood at the kitchen counter, I carefully opened it. Within lay a baby shower invitation, elegantly simple, adorned with a delicate pale pink watercolor trim. In delicate, smaller letters at the bottom, she had inscribed, "I'm sorry." I was unaware of the extent of their journey. "You were worthy of more." I remained motionless for what felt like an eternity, absorbing that line once more. Anger had faded away, leaving no trace behind. The soft, almost imperceptible sound of a door sealing shut, the reassuring click of a lock engaging from within. I neither confirmed my attendance nor discarded the invitation. Instead, I decided to write a check to the women's shelter that had captured my attention since October. In the memo, I penned my thoughts, celebrating the dawn of a new chapter. With a gentle sigh, I placed it aside, let the soothing melodies fill the air, and started to craft the evening meal. Just a straightforward dish of garlic butter pasta accompanied by a fresh kale salad. I arranged 2 plates, not out of routine, but with purpose. I placed a candle at the heart of the table, gently repositioning the napkin swan to ensure its neck stood tall and proud. At 6:15, the doorbell chimed, breaking the stillness of the evening. Amina stood on the opposite side, a bottle of wine clutched in one hand and a delicate potted orchid cradled in the other. "This place could use a touch more green," she remarked, entering with an air of confidence as if it were her rightful domain. And she followed through. We savored our meal, allowing the conversation to flow naturally, unhurried by the need to occupy every silence. Our conversation flowed through the pages of books, her recent job adventure, and the last film we both endured, each harboring our own grievances. I found myself laughing more than I had anticipated. Not a single moment did I feel my chest tighten. Once the plates had been cleared and the second glasses of wine filled, my gaze fell upon the napkin resting in the center of the table. "They returned to me all that I had lost," I murmured, in their attempt to seize it all. Amina nodded, understanding without the need for further explanation. At times, tranquility diverges from the lessons we were given. A smile spread across my face. It's not quite about forgiveness, it's more like the space to exhale, to find a sense of freedom. We softly clinked our glasses, toasting to the creation of our own tables, I declared, vowing never to ask for a seat again. She lingered a bit longer as the candle flickered down and the wine started to weave a gentle hush around us. As she departed, the condo retained a sense of presence. It felt embraced. As the night deepened, I glided quietly through the apartment, extinguishing the lights and neatly folding the soft throw blanket resting on the couch. I lingered in the kitchen, my gaze fixed on the swan napkin that remained poised at the center of the table. I did not touch it. As the day drew to a close, I found myself drawn to the flicker of a new candle, its flame dancing in the dim light before I settled in for the night. Not for recollection, but for existence. For the first time in years, I felt a sense of belonging, as if I no longer needed to prove my worth at any gathering. I had crafted my own. The napkin remains at the heart of my table, folded, still, and entirely my own. Neither a trophy nor a memory to protect, merely a soft nudge that I no longer rely on invitations to feel complete. At times, tranquility does not come from words of remorse or clarifications. It arrives when we cease to diminish ourselves to occupy places that never embraced us. In the moment we construct our own tables, we discover that healing can unfold in silence, bringing a sense of wholeness. If this tale resonated with you in any way, I would be eager to learn about how you have taken back your own space. You're welcome to express your reflections or just hold on to them quietly, as I chose to do.